the year 4129, a Varnock scout ship named Silent Watcher traveled across the edge of a forgotten solar system. It was a calm sector, ignored for centuries. The stars here didn't shine as brightly, and the planets were dry, cold, and lifeless. So everyone believed, but then something happened. The ship's comms officer suddenly stood up. "Captain, we've received a repeating signal. Very weak, but it's artificial, repeating every 43 seconds. Captain Relar turned his eyes toward the main display. "Where is it coming from?" "Fourth planet, from the local star," the officer replied. "Surface is mostly desert. No major structures in the system's files. No recent visits since 3202. The captain frowned. "And the signal is at ours." The crew exchanged worried looks. "No, sir," said the comms officer. "It's human, old Earth code, that got everyone's attention." Humans had pulled back from this part of the galaxy centuries ago, especially after the collapse war in 3970. Most Varnock believed the humans abandoned all colonies out here. Others whispered darker reasons of things buried and left behind on purpose. Still, orders were orders. They changed course and began descent. As the ship entered the upper atmosphere of the desert world, the crew saw vast red dunes, rocky cliffs, and deep canyons. It was a dry place, covered in fine orange dust. But as they passed over one of the northern canyons, something unexpected came into view. A smooth dome. It was made of old alloy, half covered in sand, but still clearly visible. Around it were smaller shapes, possibly landing pads or collapsed towers. The structure looked ancient yet intact. At 1422 local time, the Silent Watcher landed 2 kilometers from the dome. A small team of 6 exited the ship, dressed in sealed suits. The wind blew hard, pushing sand in waves across the surface. The air was thin and dry. No signs of life appeared on the scanners. Yet, the signal kept repeating from inside the dome. Then, one of the team members froze. "Captain, look at the ground." Everyone looked down. Footprints, human footprints. Fresh, they led straight toward the structure. In a desert like this, with wind constantly shifting the sand, footprints should vanish in minutes. But these looked as if someone had walked there just moments ago. Captain Relar signaled for silence and ordered the team forward. They reached a side hatch, where the sand had not yet buried the wall. "Is it locked?" one asked. The hatch suddenly opened by itself. Inside, a soft light came on. The air was clear. Machines began humming. Vents activated. They stepped in. The hallway was round and smooth, made from silver metal with glowing blue strips along the floor. Old human markings were carved into the walls. Some of the signs were in Earth standard, some in older, unknown dialects. The crew's translator systems quickly began learning and displaying basic phrases. They passed through several connected rooms, each one stranger than the last. One room had working climate control, plants growing in organized rows, even a small waterfall running through a pipe system. Real greenery in the middle of a dead world. The crew couldn't believe what they were seeing. "How is this still running after so many years?" asked Breck, the science officer. "I don't know," said the engineer. "These systems should have failed 800 years ago. This place is preserved." At 1539 local time, they reached a central control chamber. Screens blinked to life. Soft humming filled the air. Suddenly, a woman's face appeared on the central screen. Human, smiling, calm. "Welcome," she said, speaking perfect Varnak. Language, the team jumped back. This is Red Dust Colony. If you're seeing this message, it means you've found what remains of us. We are not here anymore, but the systems were left running. You are free to explore, but know this. You were not expected yet. The crew stood frozen. How does she speak our language? Someone whispered. She shouldn't, said Captain Rilar. Humans didn't speak Varnak until first contact in 4055. This message is much older. Before anyone could respond, the lights dimmed. The voice changed. Someone is here. It said it wasn't the recording anymore. This voice was different, deeper, real. The crew spun around. From the far corner of the room, a tall figure stepped forward, human-shaped, wearing an old black uniform with Earth symbols. His eyes were glowing faintly blue. He looked at them carefully. You heard our signal, he said, and you came. Captain Rilar raised his hand. We're explorers, from the Varnak Empire. Who are you? The man smiled gently. You're late. Ghosts of the colony. The man stood still under the glowing lights of the control room. His eyes faintly blue, his voice steady. Dust floated around him like mist. His old Earth uniform looked untouched by time, though parts of it had faded patches and burn marks. Captain Rilar watched him closely. Who are you? I was once called Elias, the man said. I was born in the Earth colonies, trained for war, and then chosen for something much bigger. Breck whispered behind the captain. Sir, my scanner shows no life signs from him. No heartbeat, no breathing. Captain Rilar didn't move. You're not alive. Elias gave a soft smile. Not in the way you understand it. The silence in the room grew heavier. You're inside a tomb, Elias continued, but not for the dead. This colony was meant to sleep, and now that you're here, the silence is broken. At 1350, the central lights shifted from white to amber. A soft tone rang through the hallways. Level 2, memory activation. The system announced in Earth Standard. Elias stepped aside. A door behind him opened slowly. The Varnak crew followed carefully. The hallway beyond was darker, lined with glass panels. Inside those panels were rooms, each one filled with strange machines, floating diagrams, and hundreds of glowing capsules stacked like honeycombs. Inside many of those capsules were humans not awake, but not dead either, floating in blue light, unmoving. Their bodies looked perfect, untouched by time. There are hundreds, one crew member gasped. Double quotes, 327, Elias said, but only 11 of us were part of the core group. What were you made for? Captain Rilar asked. Elias looked through the glass. To remember, to protect the knowledge of Earth's darkest hour, and to remain hidden until the galaxy forgot us. The crew slowly walked forward. One capsule began, glowing brighter than the others. Its system beeped. A new voice came from above. Pod 017. Revival sequence initiated. Wait, Breck shouted. Is someone waking up? No, Elias replied calmly. Something was already awake. It called you here. The signal you received was not from us. It was from her. She. The captain asked. They turned as the pod hissed open. The steam escaped in a slow breath, revealing a woman with dark hair, pale skin, and a long scar over her right cheek. Her eyes opened bright green and sharp. She stepped out without fear. Her eyes scanned the crew one by one. Varnox species. Military-grade gear, not earth-lined. She paused. No threat detected. Elias bowed slightly. Welcome back. Time since last revival? She asked. 1053 cycles, he answered. She nodded. Then it's time. Begin phase 1. The lights across the floor turned red. Doors across. The colony started unlocking. Machines that hadn't moved in centuries began to hum. What is phase 1? Captain Relar asked, alarmed. The woman turned toward him. Phase 1 is preparation. We don't have much time. If you found this colony, others will too, and not all will come in peace. We're not here to fight, the captain said. I believe you, she replied. But the galaxy is different now, and the weapons we kept here, they cannot fall into the wrong hands. Elias looked toward the captain. You have a choice. Stay and help us wake the others, or leave now and forget you were ever here. What if we talk? Breck asked. What if we tell the council? The woman looked directly at him. Then Earth will know. And you won't like how fast Earth can still respond. The Varnak crew went silent. At 1425, another system booted up. A hologram of Earth appeared in the middle of the corridor. It showed Earth's fleet modern, deadly, far more advanced than the galaxy had reported. The numbers weren't from the past, they were recent, meaning Earth had never stopped building. You think Earth vanished, the woman said. We didn't. We stepped back. We became shadows. And we left pieces of ourselves across forgotten stars. Captain Rillar, finally, spoke again. Why? She answered with steel in her voice. Because one day, something would return. Something worse than war. And only we would be able to stop it. Breck's hands were shaking now. And what exactly is returning? The lights dimmed again. A large display lit up with a new image. A black object, too smooth, too massive, floating in space with no known markings. Elias answered, his voice colder this time. We call it the Hollow. It eats stars. It silences empires. We were made to stop it, or die trying. The crew stared in horror, and in that moment, Captain Rillar understood. They had not found an old colony. They had found Earth's last weapon, and now it was waking up. Asterisk the ones who stayed behind the red warning lights pulsed through the underground hallway as the Varnik crew stood frozen. The air had changed, felt heavier now, as if something old and powerful had just stirred from a deep sleep. The human woman, newly awakened from her pod, moved with purpose and calm control. Her name had not yet been spoken, but every step she took said one thing clearly. She was not just a survivor, she was a leader. Captain Relar finally found his voice. You said others will come. Who else is looking for this place? The woman turned slowly. It's not a matter of who. It's a matter of when. Signals like this one are like lights in deep water, and predators swim toward lights. Elias, the first human they had met in the colony, nodded. This base was hidden for centuries. Now that it's uncovered, even silence cannot protect it anymore. At 1501 local time, the team was led into a command chamber deeper underground. The walls were layered with thick shielding and old tech panels still running diagnostics. Above them, a circular screen showed three-dimensional displays, rotating maps of star systems, Earth territory, and something marked only as Project Sentinel. Breck stared at the map. You said this colony was made to stop something. This hollow, what is it exactly? The woman didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached toward a panel and placed her hand flat on the glass. A new screen opened. It showed footage, grainy but clear, of a massive black structure slowly moving through deep space. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't even alive. It looked like a piece of space itself that had decided to devour everything near it. It doesn't speak. It doesn't respond. It doesn't leave survivors, she said softly. The hollow came from beyond charted space. Earth met it once, long ago. We won, but just barely. This colony was built in the aftermath. She turned toward them. We were the ones who stayed behind. Volunteers, soldiers, scientists, modified humans. Our mission was to wait, to remain hidden, and to be ready if the hollow ever returned. Captain Rillar looked uneasy. Why wasn't this shared with the galaxy? Why keep it a secret? Elias answered now, his voice colder than before. Because the galaxy doesn't listen until it's too late. You've seen what the Council does: politics, arguments, delays. When the hollow arrives, you don't get second chances. At 1519, the human woman placed a new file on the display. It showed rows of data cryopod records, genetic codes, and implant systems. It also showed a list of names: Elias, Kael, Mida, Torne, Lena, and more. You're looking at the original Sentinel team, she said. We weren't just frozen. We were remade. Faster minds, stronger bones, longer life, but above all memory. Stability. Breck tilted his head. What does that mean? We remember everything, Elias said. Every war, every loss, every threat Earth faced. They didn't want our minds to forget, even after 1,000 years, because history becomes our weapon. The crew stood silent, the weight of it sinking in. Then something happened. At 1527, one of the systems let out a loud alarm. Unauthorized deep space ping detected, the colony AI said. What's that? Captain Rillar asked. The woman moved to the panel, her fingers moving quickly. Someone scanned this location. From orbit, your ship. Elias asked the captain. Captain Rillar turned to his second officer. Check our ship's systems. The reply came quickly. No, sir. Our ship didn't do it. It's someone else. The human woman's voice dropped low. Then they're already here. At 1532, the outer perimeter cameras picked up something in the upper sky. A sleek, dark shape with 4 wings, a stealth probe. Not Varnock, not human. Breck checked his scanner. I've seen this design before. That's from the Zaan, Dominion. They're not friendly. Elias turned to the woman. What's the protocol? She looked toward the sleeping pods, still glowing behind them. If we are found before we're ready, we go silent. But this time, I think we send a message. Captain Rillar raised an eyebrow. What kind of message? The woman finally smiled. It was small, controlled, but powerful. One that says, Earth never forgot, and Earth never forgives. At 1538, she activated a new protocol. Pods began opening across the chamber, slowly, carefully. Humans stepped out, blinking at the bright lights. Some looked confused. Others went directly into action, checking systems, scanning maps, speaking. Quietly, in strange Earth codes. Captain Rillar could barely believe it. These weren't colonists. These were soldiers, commanders, thinkers, survivors, and all of them had waited. Just like Elias, at 1545, the ground shook slightly. Something had landed far outside the dome. The Zaan were coming. The woman turned to the Varnak team. You found us by accident, she said. But now you're part of this. You can leave if you wish, or you can stand with us and see how deep this truth really goes. Captain Relar looked at his team. Some nodded, some hesitated. He took a breath and then he said, "We'll stay." Technology that shouldn't exist. The silence after Captain Relar's answer didn't last long. The human woman gave a short nod, as if she expected it. "Good," she said. "We'll need your help. The Zaan won't stay in the sky. They'll land soon, and they'll come armed." At 1547, the dome's outer shell began to shift. Panels that once looked like rusted metal unfolded into sleek armored plating. Towers rose slowly from the sand around the base, some humming softly, others glowing faint blue. Defense systems centuries old came to life like they had only just been sleeping. Officer Breck's voice trembled. "This colony is a war fortress." Elias walked beside him. "Not just a fortress, a laboratory, a vault, a weapon. It holds technology that doesn't exist anywhere else. Some of it even we don't fully understand." He led the Varnak crew to a sealed hallway just behind the central pod chamber. The door opened with a hum, revealing a long room filled with strange devices. Each one sat inside a clear box with glowing warnings. Some floated, some pulsed with quiet energy. Some looked like nothing the crew had ever seen. At 1551, they stepped into the testing chamber. Inside was a black cube the size of a fist, floating above a small circular pad. "What's that?" Relar asked. Elias glanced at the woman, who now stood in front of the display screen. She answered, "That is a gravity well manipulator. Created during Earth's final war with the Titans in 3881. It can crush a ship's hull from the inside. Range, 400 kilometers. Delay, none." The Varnak team stared in shock. "Your people had this centuries ago?" Breck asked. Elias nodded. "And we decided the galaxy wasn't ready for it, so it was hidden, just like us." At 1556, they moved to the next room. There were thin suits hanging on racks, light grey armor with shifting patterns like liquid metal. One of the humans reached toward one and tapped its chest. The armor reacted instantly, unfolding over his body in one smooth motion. "Reflex suits," Elias explained. "They read muscle signals before you move, predict your actions, act faster than thought." Another soldier activated a small handheld device. A shield formed around her body, transparent but shimmering, like the air itself had thickened. "She just created a personal shield," whispered one of the Varnak engineers. Captain Relar was no longer just surprised, he was disturbed. "You left all this behind. You buried this power. Why?" The woman turned to him. "Because Earth understood something the galaxy never did. Power without memory is dangerous. The Council loves power, but they forget. They erase stories. They delete failures. We remembered everything." At 1605, the alert systems beeped again. Multiple landers entering low Earth orbit. Estimated ground contact in 7 minutes. The Zaan were coming. Fast that the humans began preparing instantly. Pods opened, commands were given, shields activated. 1 of the human engineers approached the Varnak crew and handed them small black wristbands. "These are language nodes and shielding links," she explained. "Wear them. They'll protect you and let you understand direct combat orders." The team hesitated but followed instructions. As they strapped the bands on, their helmets began displaying new data in perfect translation. their suits synced with the colony's command center. For the first time, the Varnock crew felt like part of a bigger force. At 1610, outside the dome, the sky changed. 3 Zarn ships broke through the clouds, black, winged, and sharp. They were known for hit-and-run attacks, not diplomacy. The woman stepped up to the command platform. "Open the message channel," she said. The colony AI confirmed, broadcasting wide-range signal. Her voice echoed across the radio waves. "This is Red Dust Colony. This territory is under Earth's protection. Leave now." There was no answer. Seconds later, the first Zarn missile hit the ground 5 kilometers away, kicking up fire and smoke. It was a warning shot. The woman didn't flinch. "Activate the tower grid." At 1612, the towers outside unleashed beams of light into the air, forming a net that sliced through one of the Zarn landers mid-air. The ship exploded in pieces. The second ship veered left, dodging but clipped a hill and crashed into the dust. Only the third made it to the ground. "They're deploying ground troops," Elias said, checking his panel. 10 soldiers. Plasma gear, fast movers. Captain Relar stared at the screen. "They're outnumbered. They always send scouts first," the woman replied. "To test defenses, to measure reaction time." "Then what happens?" Breck asked. She glanced at him. "Then they send the real army." The crew prepared for impact. Human soldiers moved through the corridors like they had never stopped training. The colony systems guided them with smooth, perfect coordination. Every step, every breath, predicted, practiced. At 1615, the ground shook again. The final Zarn team breached the outer defense gate. Permission to engage. A human voice asked through comms. The woman gave the order without blinking. "Engage." The floor below them lit up as the battle began. The Varnock had arrived expecting ruins, but they had found something alive. A force built in silence. A legacy hidden from history. And now they were standing inside the eye of the storm. What was buried beneath this colony was never just about survival. It was about what comes next. Asterisk memory. Walls the battle outside had ended before it even truly began. By 1629, the last of the Zarn ground team lay scattered across the desert, either retreating in panic or lying motionless in the sand. The colony's defense towers had done most of the work, the humans inside. They hadn't broken a sweat, but even as the dust settled, the tension inside the colony thickened. Captain Rillar stood at the observation deck, watching a medical unit retrieve the Zarn commander's body. It had no burns, no blood, just a look of pure confusion on its alien face, as if it hadn't expected to die. He turned to the woman. "That weapon, the light net, what was that?" She kept her arms crossed. "Phase lattice energy, based on solar pulse refraction. Early Earth technology. The Council never understood it, so they banned it." "You've built a fortress of banned things," Rilla said. She gave a small smile. "Only because we lived long enough to understand why they were dangerous." At 1636, Elias returned from the lower levels. His face was different, more serious now, as if something inside him had shifted. "I think it's time," he said. The woman looked at the crew. "Follow us. There's something you need to see before we wake the rest of the sleepers." They were led through a spiral corridor deep below the main base. The lights here were dimmer, the air colder. Dust floated in slow motion as the hum of machines echoed beneath their feet at the end of the tunnel. A thick blast door opened, revealing a large chamber with curved walls that seemed to glow softly. The room had no windows, no furniture, just open space. But the walls, they were alive, not in the biological sense. They shimmered with tiny moving images, memories, moments, human history. One wall showed a family standing beneath a broken moon. Another showed a battle in space, humans in white armor fighting a swarm of black machines. One panel displayed a woman standing on a platform, her hand raised in farewell as hundreds of pods launched into the stars. "What is this?" Breck whispered. "The memory walls," Elias said softly. "This is where the truth lives. No edits, no filters, no counsel. Interference." The woman walked slowly along the room's edge. Earth knew it would be erased. We saw it happen again and again, nations forgetting their past, people forgetting pain, mistakes repeated. She stopped beside a wall panel that showed an alien, race tall gray, with long arms, standing over human children in cages. "This happened in 3104, she said. "The Galan Empire tried to harvest Earth's children for their genetic gifts. The Council denied it ever happened." Captain Rill stared at the wall. "I read history books. This isn't in any of them." "Because they deleted it," Elias said. "They don't want fear. They want peace, even if that peace is built on lies." Another panel lit up, this one showing a Varnock diplomat shaking hands with a human general, while warships hovered behind them. "That was my grandfather," Rillar said. "He helped sign the peace pact." "Yes," said Elias. "But they never told you about the secret condition, did they?" Rillar turned. "What condition?" "That Earth had to dismantle its last 4 Titan-class warships in exchange for peace. Ships powerful enough to change gravity," Earth agreed. "But only on paper. In reality, we sent them away. We told them to hide." More walls lit up, each telling stories lost to time. Betrayals, wars, failures, heroes who were erased, enemies who were forgiven too soon. Technologies that vanished not because they failed, but because they worked too well. At 1651, the woman turned to the Varnak team. "We built this colony not just to sleep, but to remember. These walls keep our memories alive, even if our bodies fall." Breck's voice shook. "Why show us this now?" "Because the Hollow isn't just a threat from outside," she said. "It feeds on broken memories, on forgotten truths. It weakens civilizations from within. That's how it starts. Not with war, but with forgetting who you are." Suddenly, the room dimmed again. The memory walls stopped. All screens turned black except for one. A new image appeared. Not history, not war. A child human standing on a beach, looking at a black object rising from the ocean. The water around it boiled. The sky above cracked. The stars behind it blinked out. "That's not from our history," Elias said. The woman's voice was barely a whisper. "That's a future memory. One that hasn't happened yet." "How do you know?" Captain Rillar asked. "Because it was uploaded today, from one of the waking pods." A silence fell over the room. The Hollow was near. It wasn't just a myth. It was coming, and someone in this colony had already seen it. At 1703, the colony AI spoke again. New. SIGNAL detected. Deep space object changing trajectory. Estimated arrival, 96 hours. Elias stepped forward. "That's not a ship," Captain Reller asked. "Then what is it?" The woman looked him straight in the eyes. "It's what we were born to stop. One of them is awake, the black object in the sky wasn't a ship. It had no engines, no lights, no comms. It didn't respond to scans or pings. And it didn't slow down, it simply moved. Slow, steady, and unstoppable toward the planet. At 1707, panic began spreading among the Varnock crew. Officer Breck tapped furiously at his scanner, but the device kept freezing. His readings made no sense. "It's not made of metal," he said aloud, "but it's absorbing energy. All kinds: solar, thermal, radio, even kinetic." Captain Rellar stared at the display on the command wall. The black shape was growing now, expanding like it was feeding on space itself. Elias stood perfectly still. "That's a hollow fragment," he said. "Only a piece. The real one is far worse." The woman turned to the wall and tapped a set of fast-moving codes into the panel. "Start full revival protocol," she said to the colony AI. A voice echoed through the hall. "Core team activation initiated. Opening cryopods 11 through 23. Down in the sleeping chambers, the lights brightened. Steam hissed as ancient locks disengaged. One by one, more pods opened. Inside were humans frozen in time, men and women with scarred bodies, tight muscle structures, and silver marks running through their veins. They were the Sentinels at 1712. A tall man stepped out of Pod 017. His skin was dark and his eyes glowed amber. He wore no shirt, just old military trousers and metallic implants that shimmered under his skin. He looked around once and said, "I felt it before I woke up. It's close." Another pod opened. A woman stepped out next. Her hair was silver. Her arms covered in thin scars that seemed to glow faintly. "They sent a fragment," she said. "They're testing us. They want to know if Earth still remembers." Elias walked toward them. "We do." The Varnock crew stood off to the side, eyes wide. "These people," Breck whispered, "they're not like other humans." "They're not," Elias agreed. "They were built to be more, smarter, stronger, connected. Each one carries centuries of training, memory, and upgrades." Captain Rillar asked, "How many are like them?" 27 were created," Elias answered. "Only 23 survived, and only one of them was considered unstable." Just then, alarms blared. Pod 01 opening manually. Unauthorized activation detected. The lights flashed red. Everyone froze. Elias turned sharply. "No, she's not ready." The woman at the command console tried to override the system. "Someone inside the pod is forcing a bypass. I can't stop it." At 1717, Pod 01 hissed and cracked open. A strange silence filled the air to quiet, like sound itself had paused. The figure inside stepped out slowly. Her body was thinner than the others, her skin pale, almost translucent. Her eyes were silver empty, unreadable. She didn't speak. She simply looked at everyone, and the room dropped several degrees colder. The other Sentinels took a step back. "Her name is Kale," Elias said quietly. "She was the first, the prototype. She saw the hollow once before, and it broke her." Breck swallowed hard. "What does that mean?" "She lived," Elias said, "but she came back different." Kale's eyes flicked toward the black sky. Displayed on the wall, the hollow fragment pulsed faintly. Her fingers twitched. Then she whispered, "It remembers me." At 1720, she raised her hand. All the colony systems flickered. Doors unlocked, lights changed, drones activated. It was as if the base itself had just accepted a new master. Captain Rillar stepped forward. "What is she doing?" She's sinking. With the colony, the woman replied. She was part of the original neural mesh. She can connect to every machine here. Elias stepped beside her. But if she connects too deeply... Suddenly, Kale dropped to one knee, holding her head. Too loud, she whispered. So many voices. I can hear it. It's speaking to me again. The woman rushed to her side, placing a hand on Kale's shoulder. Kale, focus. You're not alone this time. Kale's eyes snapped open. They've seen us. The full hollow is turning. This is only the beginning. Outside, the sky darkened. The stars above the planet began to disappear, one by one, as if something massive was slowly passing in front of them. At 1723, the colony AI gave a chilling update. Deep space signal has tripled in strength. Estimated arrival, 72 hours. Captain Rella turned to Elias. What happens when it arrives? Elias looked at Kale. She will know. She was made to face it. But she's only a part of what's needed. The rest must wake now. All of them. More. Pods began hissing, open. A low sound filled the air, most like a choir voices of old machines. Ancient orders being followed after 1,000 years of silence. Kale stood again, fully alert now. Her voice was clear and sharp. If you want to live, she said, looking at the Varnok crew, you must fight with us. Because when the hollow arrives, there is no neutral ground. Captain Rillar nodded. Double quotes. We stand with you. Asterisk the truth. Humanity buried, the stars were vanishing one after another. At 1731, the hollow fragment in space stopped moving. It had reached the edge of the planet's upper orbit and simply hung there, like a black wound in the sky. It didn't speak. It didn't fire weapons. But everything around it went silent: communications, satellite relays, power signals. Even the planet's sun seemed less bright. Inside Red Dust Colony, time moved faster. Humans rushed through corridors, awakening more pods, arming weapons, activating long-forgotten machines. The Varnok crew stood at the center of it, all outsiders, but no longer strangers. They had seen too much. They knew the truth, and they were now part of it. At 1736, Kale stood before the main memory wall. Her hand rested against the glowing surface, which now showed strange symbols, not human, not alien. They pulsed like they were alive. This is a live transmission, she said softly. It's the Hollow's voice. Captain Relar asked, what's it saying? Kale didn't blink. It's not speaking to us. It's speaking to the planet, asking if it remembers what it once tried to destroy. Breck looked confused. Wait, the planet. Elias walked forward. Red Dust Base was not the first. This world was once a battlefield, a testing ground. Earth used it during the early war with the Hololong before anyone knew its name. Kale continued. This entire planet was once alive, not in the way we are. It held a living AI core, grown from Earth's oldest technologies. It saw the hollow, fought it, and chose to die rather than be consumed. Now it made sense why the soil was dry, why the air held strange patterns of radiation, why nothing grew outside. The planet had sacrificed itself to stop the hollow once before. At 1743, the AI voice of the colony spoke again. Deep memory link restored. AI core signal located. Reconnection in progress. Everyone stared at the floor. Beneath them, deep underground, something ancient had awakened. A light not mechanical, not biological, but something in between began to pulse from the lowest level. We buried Earth's greatest weapon here, Elias said. A living memory, a mind built from Earth's pain, its losses, and its fury. Captain Reeler took a step back, and now it's waking up again. Yes, Cale said, because it recognizes the hollow, it remembers. At 1748, the ground shook gently, not from an attack, but from heartbeat pulses coming from the underground core. The colony's light synced to it. Boom, boom, boom. Slow, steady, growing, stronger. Cale turned to the human soldiers behind her. Activate all deep link suits. Connect with the core. The humans stepped into circular chambers where light wrapped around them. Their eyes glowed. Their bodies stiffened. They weren't just syncing with machines anymore, they were syncing with a mind older than anyone had ever seen. At 1754, the memory walls showed a new image, not of the past, but of Earth, not as it is now, but hidden in shadow, underneath. Its surface lay other cores, other colonies, other weapons. The truth hit Rillar hard. You didn't disappear, he said. Earth just hid. Elias nodded slowly, because the hollow wasn't destroyed last time. It was pushed back, sealed behind space folds. But now it's returning, and Earth was never going to wait unprepared. Cale's voice was strong now. We are not survivors. We are seeds, planted across the stars, hidden in dead systems, protected. By time, she stepped forward, looking at the black sky above. The hollow wanted us to forget. But we remembered. At 1759, the black object finally moved. Not toward the colony, but away. Everyone watched as the hollow fragment turned and began to retreat. No weapons fired. No ships chased it. It simply left. The Varnick crew stared at the screen in disbelief. It's leaving, Breck whispered. No, Elias said. It was testing us. Cale nodded. It knows we're awake now. It knows the memories have returned. And it won't attack blindly anymore. When it comes back, it will bring everything. Silence followed. But it wasn't fear. It was readiness. At 1802, the core below finished sinking. The AI voice spoke one last message. Memory fully restored. Earth, protocol active. Signal broadcast. Humanity remembers. Captain Reelar turned toward Cale, Elias, and the other awakened sentinels. So, what happens now? Cale's voice was calm. Now, we tell the others. We send the signal across the stars, and we remind the galaxy what Earth truly is. Captain Reelar gave a slow nod. He had come here as an explorer. He would leave as a witness to the truth humanity buried, a truth that had finally awakened.